Hey guys, it's David McDonald and welcome to another video here on my channel. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different given world events. I'll still be bringing you some movie reviews on some movies I watched this week, but I'm also going to be giving you a part 2 tomorrow on movie news not related to coronavirus, and then also I will be talking to you today about some other future content I have down the pipeline, which includes some show reviews from Netflix and from Amazon Prime that I'm currently watching, and segments on hidden gems, which will be about movies that weren't all that popular at the box office, maybe because of poor marketing or just because they were more indie films, but were still really good and I'd highly recommend regardless. Getting into the review side of the video, I saw 5 movies this week, 2 in theaters early on, 2 later on Netflix, and the last movie I watched was a limited release movie. The first 2 I watched were Onward, the Pixar movie, and Bloodshot, the Vin Diesel movie. I will rate Onward the usual fare. It wasn't anything special compared to some of the older stuff we're used to from Pixar. Certainly wasn't like Pixar's lower end like Cars or The Good Dinosaur, but it is a good family movie. Its goal was to be a family movie, and it does that. There were a few decisions they made with the plot in terms of getting away from a certain storyline they established early on in the film that really didn't have much emotional payoff at the end of the movie. But again, it's a solid family movie that when it gets released to Disney Plus here in the next week or so, definitely watch with your kids if you're looking for something to find. Bloodshot, I am not going to recommend. I am going to say it's a waste of time. It kind of reminded me of a lot of the cheesy early 2000s action movies. There really wasn't anything good about this movie. The action where the movie should have shined was haphazardly cut. It fell victim to shaky cam. It was hard to follow any of the action to the point of making the action boring. And even a story where it should have been a good story was plagued by overuse of exposition, overuse of CGI, and a lot of poor performances. If you've seen any other early 2000s action movies, or a lot of any early Vin Diesel movies, you have already seen Bloodshot. Don't waste your time on this one. The 2 Netflix movies I saw this week, the first one was Spenser Confidential. I'm going to rate it the usual fare. There wasn't anything inherently wrong with this movie. It was just that it wasn't special enough or memorable enough from my perspective to warrant anything higher than the usual fare. It is an entertaining movie. Mark Wahlberg does a good job, and there are times where you do chuckle a little in this movie. And there is some good emotional value to this movie with some emotional payoff at the end and you being vested in this character, but really nothing else stood out. The action's pretty solid, but again, it's a movie where if you want to find something entertaining, I can see why you would like it or why you'd want to watch it and maybe even see it multiple times. But again, it's not anything I'm going to remember 5-10 years from now. That being said, it is better than Horse Girl, which is the other movie I saw on Netflix this week. I'm going to rate Horse Girl a waste of time. The biggest problem with this movie is its character is incredibly cringeworthy and awkward to the point of detracting from the narrative. They tried to go very deep with the narrative, in terms of, making it somewhat related to mental illness and whatnot, but because of how they made this character, it just wasn't relatable at all. It was kind of like Robert Downey Jr.'s character in Tropic Thunder said, you went full retard, never go full retard. There's nothing wrong with, having movies like that where, there is a mentally challenged characters, and a lot of movies in the past have succeeded with that, where they've had a great story and a really memorable character that people can get emotionally invested in, while maybe that character's not all there. You know, Forrest Gump is a classic for a reason. But in this case, you know, it was over the top, and there were some decisions made later on in the movie in terms of the narrative and trying to make it the movie too artsy and whatnot, and where the narrative fell apart. There really wasn't any at all later on because this movie was trying to be so unique. There are some movies that pull off how unique and how artsy they are. This one tried to go overboard with it, and because of that, it really wasn't memorable. Don't see it. It's not even worth your time. That being said, the best movie I saw this week was Guns Akimbo. It was a limited release movie that I ended up hearing about through the trailer and through some friends who went to Toronto International Film Festival. And I'm going to rate this movie required viewing. Definitely the best one I saw this week. It was a zany and well-crafted movie. And I can see why some people won't like this movie, given the video game violence and a premise that would seem somewhat ridiculous, but they pull off pretty well, actually. This is a film this is one of Daniel Radcliffe's better films outside of Harry Potter, obviously, but I can see why some people won't like this movie. That being said, if you like movies like this, such as Free Fire and over-the-top violence and action movies, this is a great movie. The CGI not only is not overused, but it actually adds to the story. There's a lot of great performances, especially from Samara Weaving as Nyx. Daniel Radcliffe does a pretty good job too. All the action is really well choreographed. It's interesting, doesn't fall into the shaky cam trap, and it's actually pretty well told. And it really makes you feel for this character who I thought the character wasn't really going to be all that special, or that I wouldn't really care for the character too much. And I was actually wrong. You know, you actually care for this character and his journey. And because of that, I'm going to recommend it to a lot of people. And this is one that you should definitely watch time and time again. Definitely going to be a guilty pleasure movie of mine for sure, along with Free Fire. And I would highly recommend it. That being said, that ends my review section of this video. Stay tuned tomorrow for the second part of this video, the movie news. And stay healthy and watch some more movies and watch for content down the pipeline. Thank you for watching.